Hey everyone, I promised you I'd get a microphone. I have a microphone. This is kind of a microphone slash camera test. I'm trying to use the zoom lens. It could be a light test as well. Right. I'm gonna make a smoothie. This is not one of those smoothies that you drink because they taste nice. This is one of those smoothies that you drink because somebody else told you it was good for you. And if you're wondering about all the nutrients and all the benefits of the ingredients I'm putting in, well, keep wondering. Because I don't ask questions when it comes to those things. I just have faith. Try it. If it feels great, that's all I need to know. So, you're probably not going to see the ingredients very well because I'm using the zoom lens. But bear with me. I'm trying out this cinematographic theme. Ginger. Dried cranberries. They're not going in, I'm just going to eat those. A banana. Water. Dark chocolate. Again, not for the smoothie, for my mouth. Oh yeah! Turmeric. Or turmeric. Turmeric. I have some frozen mango, some frozen pineapple. They're going in. It's not supposed to be in there. Just found a fridge magnet in the freezer. It's my wife's doing. I would never allow such a thing. Got the blender. Now I am going to change the lens so you can be included in this. Light on or light off? I wish you could give me real-time feedback. I'll leave it on. Now this is my top tip for smoothies. Before you start, pour some water through the blender to make sure there's no leaks, because I have cried over spilled milk on more than one occasion when I haven't done this. Okay, this is good. I can tell you there is nothing more messy than when a smoothie leaks. There isn't. I guess we'll chuck the banana in first. Kind of doing this by memory, so I might miss something out. I think it's 2 teaspoons of turmeric. I'm not sure about this, we've committed to that now. Okay. 1. Whoa. More like 3. It's gonna blow my head off. Oh, I'm gonna use quite a wedge of ginger. Smells good, something like that. Pineapple, guesstimating this again. I may as well just put it on. I have noticed that pineapple makes almost everything taste good, as long as you like pineapple. Okay, I'm putting this many mangoes in. Put as much water in as you would like, and that's gonna dictate the texture. So I like smoothies that I can drink. So putting in a fair amount of water. Cranberries. That was the texture. I can drink that. Smells delightfully terrible. That's the... Oh man, that's definitely... Maybe could do with a bit more water. Oh! None of it's gone. It's gonna take me ages. I've probably got an orange mustache. It tastes better than yesterday, but the texture is all wrong. Right, we'll go do something else now. So we're at the gym now. I'm 1 hour into 2 hours on the bike. The gym's empty now, so I thought I might talk about something I was thinking about on the walk over here. I like talking when I'm on my own. I always talk out loud. I find it's more clear than just thinking in your head. When I was walking, it was cold today and raining, and I can only wear my flip-flops because I can't get proper shoes on still. And I can barely walk in my flip-flops when it's raining, slipping every step. That's why I was walking barefoot the other day in the video. But there was just no thought of me not coming to the gym and doing this cardio, even though there were different obstacles in the way. But that hasn't always been the case. When I was a teenager, any one of those things could have got in the way. Firstly, I've had surgery. I need to wait till I'm fully recovered before I start doing exercise. Or it's raining. Might say to myself, well, you shouldn't get your bandages wet, to justify why I'm not going to the gym. But nowadays, those thoughts come into my head, but I just recognize them straight away as lies. And that's just through training for years. I just understand now not to let those voices control my actions. And here's one reason I need to make sure I get this cardio done, because I have something I'm training for, and come game day, I want to make sure I've done everything I can. But there's a much more important reason, and this is what I was thinking about, and this is what I'd like to talk to you about, because it may apply to some of you. It's because I made a promise to myself, and you can't break promises to yourself regularly, and here's why. If anybody else tells you they're going to do something and they don't follow through, you stop trusting them. And if you stop trusting them, you stop respecting them. And if you don't respect someone, you don't treat them very well. You don't take them seriously. You say nasty things about them, maybe. And you don't give them any attention or kindness or love. But the same is true with yourself. I think we forget this sometimes. If you continuously break promises to yourself, you'll stop trusting your word. You'll even start to, I've been here before. You'll say, yeah, I'll do that. I'll go to the gym in the morning. And you already know you're not going to. So you don't trust the words that are coming out of your mouth. And you don't respect yourself anymore. And you say bad things about yourself in your own head. And you don't treat yourself with respect. There's a great chapter in Jordan Peterson's book, 12 Rules for Life, called Treat Yourself Like Someone You're Responsible for Caring For, something like that. Treat yourself like someone you're responsible for. It's the same idea. I think the way you get out of that, if you, for instance, feel like this is you constantly break promises, you need to start with a goal that seems beneath you. Something absurdly easy, like you might say, in the morning, whatever happens in the day, I'm making my bed. I am making my bed. Definitely. And I can do anything else with the rest of the day. I can lay on my bed for the rest of the day, but I must make it. I say I'm going to do it, and then I do it. Maybe that's too difficult. It might be something like, out of that pile of laundry on the floor, I'm going to put one shirt in the laundry basket. And then you do it, and you kept the promise that you made to yourself. And maybe the next day, you put 2 shirts in, and maybe the next day, 3. And maybe one day you think, I'm just going to put all of them in the washing basket. And then you think, you know what, I've already done that. I may as well put them in the machine and wash them. So you can see what happens if you can consistently keep your promises. They start to spiral upwards, and you build momentum. But that's not all that happens. You start to regain the respect for yourself that you lost. You trust yourself. And even though you're only setting small goals, they're still challenging for you, and faster than you think, you'll be doing things that you never thought you would. faster than you think, you'll be the person who's going to the gym 5 times a week, and you're balancing all these different things because you've got into the habit of keeping promises. And so when obstacles come up and potential excuses, you don't grab them. You knock them down, you find a way to get over them. Think, oh, it's raining. Well, I'll wear a waterproof coat. It's not that big of a deal. I'm going to get my bandages wet. I'll change them when I get home. There's a cost to that. There's a cost to being disciplined. It might mean, oh, I have to get up early tomorrow. That's a cost. But the cost of not doing it, in my life, I've always found has been far worse. Because the feeling of not having respect for yourself, forget that. Right, I'm 1 hour, 6 minutes in. I thought now might be a nice time to answer some of the questions you asked me. So I brought my work phone specially. Instagram first. People sent me private messages. Peter Hartley asks me, when am I getting my golf clubs back out? For those of you who don't know, I used to play a lot of golf when I was a teenager. If I can find a way to do it, I'll put a clip over the top of this. To answer your question, Peter, I'm never getting my golf clubs back out. Golf it's such a strange thing. I either want to be able to play golf to a high standard or not play at all. I don't think my little heart could take it if I went back and wasn't striking the ball the same way. So I'm probably never going to play golf again. The other thing is, if I started playing golf, I think I'd end up just doing nothing else. Back in the day, Peter, hopefully you remember this, it wasn't so long ago, we'd spend 10 hours a day at the golf club sometimes. We'd get there really early, practice, play 18, maybe 36 holes, practice some more, have competitions all the time. So it's probably not good for me at this time in my life when I have so many other things going on. Sorry, Peter. My friend Sean said, what got you to change from strongman training to how you train now? It's really hard to tell, but I think it's something like this. When I was younger, I think this is common. When you're younger, you don't pay much attention to your health. So as a strongman, I was just thinking about being stronger, performing better. And some of the things I was doing weren't particularly healthy, like I was eating a lot of food, and I wasn't worried about what kind of food, as long as they were calorie dense. I wasn't doing any cardio, because I was worried I might lose weight. So, and I had pain that I just accepted would be there forever. I had lower back pain that was my normal lower back pain. And if I had some other lower back pain, that was new. But when I started jiu-jitsu, I'm at the jiu-jitsu dojo now, it's just through there. When I started that, the people who trained jiu-jitsu they were typically more health focused. They'd go on long hikes. A lot of them are runners. A lot of them do a lot of hiking and camping. They pay attention to their health more. They eat a certain way. No, I mean, and it's just like in every sport. There's still some people here who don't pay any attention to their health. But I think it was just as I got a little bit older, I was transitioning from more this vain desire to just be strong to thinking more about my overall health and well-being. There's something else too. I'd never really explored certain areas of fitness. I just limited myself so narrowly to strength. And there were other things I was interested in that I was afraid to do. I always wanted to be a black belt in some kind of martial art, and I didn't do that because I was so worried about it affecting my training. As I said, I wouldn't do any cardio. So I'd limited myself. But the reason we get into training is to be this superhero like Batman, who's strong, athletic, enduring, a master of martial arts. That's why we get into it, and then we narrow ourselves, and I didn't like that. So now my training is, I have the strength areas, jiu-jitsu, and the endurance too. And I mean, it's not entirely easy to do that, but it's easier than you might think. I think it's a lot easier than people think. If they knew how they could structure their week to make that happen, more people would do it. Max says, have you ever studied martial arts? Yes, I've been training jiu-jitsu for just over 4 years. Brazilian jiu-jitsu for just over 4 years. Okay, Plastic 5459 says, what's your favorite thing about creating content on YouTube? Plans on keeping this up for a while? My favorite thing is that the goal I intended for the YouTube channel seems to be happening. I seem to be realizing that goal. Here's what I mean. I'd gone back and forth for years. You'll notice I had a lot of videos in the past, and then there's 2 or 3 years of inactivity, maybe even longer than that. And all that time I was thinking, should I be doing YouTube or not? I decided I would go through with it. I decided to make these videos and try and spread as much positivity as possible. And what's been really nice is that all of the comments and things are extremely positive. It seems like the kind of people who are attracted to this YouTube channel are the kind of people I hoped would be. So my favorite thing is that it's going just as I hoped it would, a best case scenario. So yes, I absolutely plan on keeping it up. Vukil Langer, I hope I pronounced that correctly. From the outside, it looks like your schedule is rather busy. How do you balance the running, lifting, music, writing, and anything else? And probably more important, what does your winding down routine look like? Do you ever go days with a planned off period? Really interesting question. There's a really good book by Cal Newport called Deep Work. He talks a lot about scheduling in there. How do you balance? Okay. I just want to make sure I answer your question correctly. So, you may have seen this is quite a famous video on scheduling that has a glass jar, and the guy puts golf balls in, then pebbles, then sand, and then beer. The golf balls represent the important parts of your life. The pebbles are secondary things. The sand is all the fluff. And the beers represent the idea that you've always got time for a couple of beers with some friends. Now, the second part of this idea is if you put the beer in first, or the sand, you haven't got room for the golf balls, the important things. So the first thing is I have a schedule. A lot of people don't actually have a schedule on Google Calendar, and then I put it into a paper diary as well, which I carry around with me. Just a little thing. So the golf balls for me are, I got to get my main training session in each day. Writing, I'll have like a 90-minute block of writing. Work, if I've got people booked in that day, I need to go and have my sessions with my clients. But sometimes I don't have clients booked in. And then the secondary things are a secondary workout, because sometimes I train twice a day. Reading's kind of a big thing. I have to read every day really, but sometimes I only read for half an hour or an hour. And then I have all of these other things that I love to do, like spoon carving, music, playing the piano or the guitar, writing songs. But I still consider writing songs writing, so sometimes the time I should be writing novels, I'm writing songs. But there's another part to this as well. I'm slightly unique in that my job allows me a lot of time. I don't have a 9 to 5. So if you looked at my schedule, it might look crazy in some ways, because you'd see 2 workouts and a bunch of things that a lot of people don't have in their schedule. But you'd understand why I can fit everything in, because some days I don't have any work to do. Some days I only see clients for 2 hours. So it's very manageable. In terms of winding down, I like this idea of, in training there's this idea of daily undulating periodization. All that means is throughout the week you're moderating your training to manage fatigue. So if you have a really hard session on Monday, Tuesday might be an easier session. Some people prefer to train they have 3 hard weeks of training and then they have a week of rest or of lighter training, easier training. And you can use this as a metaphor for life. I prefer to have my week where maybe Monday is really busy. I have 4 clients and a workout and this and that. Tuesday, I'll just do an easy workout, and I'll do a bit of writing, and maybe then I'll just kind of do some of the things that I want to do, play the piano for a while. However, just like in training, sometimes you have to be out of balance. Sometimes you've got to train, you've got to run 100 miles a week, and you're lifting, and you're doing this, and you're doing that. And then after it's all done, you just have to have a big rest, a week away from the gym. Sometimes it's like that in my life. I'll have 15 clients in a week, and I'm training 12 times in a week, and I'm writing, and I'm doing this. And then I'll just schedule a couple of days off after the kind of summit has been reached. Did you ask about my actual routines? Because winding down routine. Yeah, I just make sure I don't like to be looking at screens in the hours leading up to going to sleep, and make sure the lights are dimmer in the house. And I usually read before bed as well, which helps me just start to get sleepy. That's usually my time for hanging out with Shauna as well, my wife. We'll just sit together and talk and do jigsaw puzzles, and sometimes I read to her. This is by Bry Anthony C. I'm starting to feel inspiration again with the help of your videos. Can you give me your opinion and maybe some advice about writing dark and realistic characters? How far is too far? This is something I've been thinking about for a while as I navigate this writing journey myself. Well, firstly, I'm very, very excited that you're feeling this inspiration. I'm honored that I've been a part of that. In terms of the advice for writing dark characters and realistic characters, you kind of already touched on something important. I don't think you can go too dark. Firstly, let me just say I've not written these kind of characters, but when I saw your question the other day, I thought about it a little bit. I don't think you can go too dark so long as the character is still realistic. Otherwise, if you haven't got a character that's realistic, it just becomes cartoonish and silly. Well, let me explain what I mean. If you think about real life people, there's a lot of people who've been very dark, very evil people, you might say. We've done just about every terrible thing you can think of. Think about when people would be hanged, drawn, and quartered. Think about the atrocities of the 20th century. It's like you can't really go too dark because we human beings have maxed out the dark things that we can do to each other. But I think the important thing when you're writing fiction is making sure your characters have motivations so that the reader understands, why is this character doing this? When you read about Hitler and Stalin, they're not just these made-up characters. They had reasons for doing the things that they did, and that adds to the murkiness, in my opinion. If you think about what Hitler really thought about Jews, for instance, you think, oh my gosh, I can't believe he really thought that. So you need to make your characters, you need to give them motivations that people understand. Here's something else, and this is a philosophical idea too. You can think about your own darkness. Think about the things you think about that aren't so good, because we all do that. We all have thoughts that shock us. We go, oof. And if you've had that thought, the chances are somebody else has. I think it's good to write about those kind of things. So, and it's also good for you, in my opinion, as a person, to investigate your dark side. Not to act on it, to understand yourself. So that would be my advice. Okay, next question. Was there a particular inspiration behind Project 200, or is it just something you always wanted to do? It's definitely not something I've always wanted to do. It's quite a new idea. I wanted to do something crazy for charity. I was enjoying the running, so I thought, well, how far could I take the running? It just so happens there's this trail in Scotland which I really like called the West Highland Way. It's 96 miles, and I've walked it before with a friend. So I thought to myself many times, imagine if you walked it there and back. Coincidentally, Ben Nevis is at the end of the walk. So I thought, well, what if you walked it, went up Ben Nevis, and then came back? That would tip it over to over 200 miles. It would be about 202 miles. I thought, well, you could run that. The second thing is, my friend who I walked it with, he actually had a brain tumor. And when he was recovering, when he was being treated, this charity really helped him out. This charity takes young people with cancer and they do activities together. They camp together in the Lake District. So when I was asking around about charities, he immediately mentioned them. They're called Flynn's Barn. More on that later. So that was when I really felt like I had a rocket up my ass, because I thought, man, they're a great charity. They helped my friend, so I want to help them now. And I knew I had to do it then. So that's when I really felt a burst of inspiration. Mostly Reading asks, hope it's not too broad, but what have been some of the hardest and most valuable lessons you've learned about yourself? So it is a broad question, as you know. And I've been thinking about it a bit, because the hardest, you could interpret that different ways. I was thinking about the different ways you can interpret hard, because some lessons are hard earned. Some lessons are hard to take. They hurt you when you realize, when you learn them. And the other thing that I thought was interesting is, I think if you're wise, all lessons are good lessons. Everything you learn about yourself, you're happy about, whether it's hard or not. But I know that's a bit tricky. I'm not trying to diminish your question. So I'll answer it in a few ways. Some of the hardest lessons, as in hardest earned, have come from doing things that I wasn't prepared for and making it through. So for instance, here's a fun story. My brother once tricked me. This was when I wasn't a runner. I'd ran 10 kilometers. My brother asked me to run 30 kilometers with him. And on the night before the race, he told me it was actually 30 miles. So I'd been tricked. So I'd only ran 10 kilometers, and now I had to run 5 times that amount. But my sister said, you know you can do that, because you're mentally strong. So I did it, and it was miserable from start to finish. I just wasn't fit enough, and my legs were killing me. I could barely walk. There was a lot of elevation, but I finished. And you just realize when you do things that are really hard, every time you remember, gosh, I'm so much stronger than I thought. I'm so much stronger than I thought. Some things have so little to do with physicality and everything to do with mindset and attitude and just the determination to finish. So and that's happened a lot in my life. Sometimes there were lifts when I first deadlifted 600 pounds. My training numbers hadn't really suggested I was going to be able to do that. And a couple of months beforehand, I'd actually failed 240 kilos. And then I pulled 272 and a half kilos just through the will to do it. I really psyched myself up, and I just willed myself to do that, to make that lift. To answer your question a different way, some of the lessons I've learned about myself that aren't very nice. In my teenage years and my early 20s, I think I was very selfish. I started being really honest with myself when I was in my early 20s. And that was one of the things I realized was I think I was quite selfish. And It's not very nice to know that about yourself. But unless you figure it out, you can't do anything about it. So that's why I say it's all positive. Because if you figure out you're selfish, for instance, that's not very nice. But if you don't know it, you're going to be selfish for the rest of your life. Once you've shone a light onto it, you don't have to be that person anymore. So I want to always know the problems. Whenever I'm having a spiritual experience, I always want there to be a monster. I always want to find out something terrible about myself. Because otherwise I'm going to continue to be that person. So I always think the hard lessons are the most valuable in some ways. And to answer the second part of your question, was some of the most valuable lessons you've learned. I'll tell you something really cool though, that I've been thinking about for a long time. I'm thinking about the sun and why the sun is the most beautiful thing in the world. You see this, I won't go into it now, but you see it all across literature, everywhere, and mythology. The sun, the light shining on the kingdom, and etc. The sun's the most beautiful thing in the world, not because it asks people to look at it, not because not because it's vain. It doesn't say, look at me. On the contrary, you can't look at the sun because it's too bright. The sun is the most beautiful thing in the world because it reveals the beauty in everything else. Without its light, we wouldn't even be able to enjoy the moon at night. And I think about that as a metaphor. Human beings can be like that. The most beautiful humans, the best you can be, is a person who shines so brightly, not so people look at you, but so that other people are inspired to shine as well. And you see that all the time. When one person is really a great spirit, everyone they touch wants to be like that. That is the most valuable thing, perhaps, I've ever learned. Finally, David Castellanos, 897. Do you follow a certain schedule to plan your writing project? The truth is, total transparency. No. I think like a lot of artists, I can be inconsistent with my writing. So, but once I've got a project really moving, then I like to say, okay, I'm going to do 1,000 words a day, and I try and get those 1,000 words done. But I'd be a liar if I said that I write from 6 o'clock till 7:30 every morning. It's just not the case. I'm working on it. Thank you all very much for your questions. It actually meant a lot that you asked them, and I hope you've enjoyed the video. But you can help me out one more time if you don't mind. If there's any videos you'd like to see, just let me know in the comments. And if you now have a question as well, and you want to see another video like this, just leave a question in the comments, and I will get back to you. I haven't got many subscribers yet, so I have no excuse. You'll get all of my attention. Thanks again. I'll see you soon.